Okay, hey everyone. Welcome to California State University Long Beach, and specifically the Department of Political Science. I am Dr. Rich Hazley. I am one of the two advisors, undergraduate advisors for this department. I officially will be working with you if your last name is between A through K throughout the time here. But over the summer, I will be kind of leading you through this process. And so you'll be seeing my name, and some of you will be emailing me, and we'll be in contact with each other. So welcome to California State University Long Beach, and particularly the Department of Political Science. And we're so glad to have you. We are bummed, like many of us, that we cannot do this in person, but we will try to be as clear as possible and as helpful as possible to help you through this difficult and strange time that we're dealing with. But what I'm going to do in this short video is to provide you with an overview of how the major in political science fits in with the set of courses that you're going to be taking here at your time here at California State University Long Beach. And so there are a number of things we're going to go over. There's a lot of information that will be in this video, which is part of the reason why we're videotaping it, so that you can go back and review it. We have some other sources that we're going to be putting in emails that I'm sending to you, as well as posting on our website. So hopefully one of the ways in which we provide this information will make sense to you and will help you figure out the set of courses that make the most sense for you for the fall semester. And so what I want to do is to first start out with the idea that political science is a relatively low unit major. There are 39 units that are required to complete as part of your political science degree. Some of you may decide to take more than 39 units, but 39 units is the minimum number that you need. And what that means is that as a transfer student, you may already have completed 3, 6, or 9 units that will count towards your political science degree. So almost all of you have probably taken Intro to American Government. And if you've done that, that's already 3 units of the 39 units you've already completed. Some of you might have taken courses like International Relations or Comparative Politics, or a class on the media and politics, or something like Political Inquiry or Political Theory or something like that. All of those would also count for a total of up to 9 units of political science courses that can count. Now, exactly how they count is a little more complicated. And I'm not going to go into the details now. We can talk about that actually after you register for classes, and we'll take care of it officially in the fall semester, because we have to wait until all of your transcripts have been sent over to Cal State, they've been evaluated, and then we as a department can figure out where the courses that you've taken will count in the units that you need. Now, one thing that is, if you've taken a lower division level course, and lower division means 100 or 200 level courses here at California State University, and for any course taken at community college is a lower division level course. And so many of you have taken more than 3 of the classes, the 9 units, that is a maximum number of lower division level units that can count. And some people worry about that and feel that they've wasted their time by taking classes they didn't need. Well, one thing I would say is, obviously you have more of an understanding of the political world, and that's going to only help you in the upper division level courses that you take in our department. The other thing I would say is that the political science courses you've taken, even if they don't officially count towards the political science degree, the 39 units you need to fulfill those requirements for our department, all of those units are going to count towards your GPA in political science, and they all count towards the 120 units you need to graduate. And so part of what we need to think about is that there are multiple requirements that you need. There's certainly the departmental level requirements, which is 39 units. We're going to be talking about that. But then there's also the university requirements that you need to have 120 units as a minimum in order to get your degree. And because we're a low unit major, 39 units, and many of you have even 3, 6, or 9 units you've already completed at community college, and you still have upwards of 60 units of coursework to finish, and some will be a little bit more, some a little bit less, but transferring in, most people are bringing in about 60 units of coursework. You still have 60 more units that you need to complete. And so even if none of the political science courses you've taken at a community college didn't count, you would still have courses left over that you could take in other departments, some to fulfill GE requirements, but also to think about taking courses outside of the political science department. And so we just want you to think about those things as you're thinking about the schedule that you're going to complete. And one of the most important ones, and we'll go through this as a checklist, but just at the outset, just to point out, is the thing to think about for the fall semester is that you want to take only upper division level courses. And that is, for us, 300 and 400 level courses are upper division level courses. In our department in political science, there is no difference between 300 and 400 level courses in terms of you must take 300 level courses before you can move into 400 level courses. There's no distinction that way. But the courses that you're going to be taking for the most part and for almost all of you should be at the upper division level in the fall semester. And so you should just think about that. And the reason we want to do that is to make sure that you don't take courses that you're already going to get credit for once the transcripts from the community college have been processed. And we just don't want you to double up on those things. So think about 300 and 400 level courses as the set of courses you're going to be taking. The other thing is, as a preview, is that many of you are used to, from a community college, taking courses that will officially check a box and make sure that this will fit a particular category so that it will fulfill a G requirement or a major requirement. For us, we want you to certainly be aware of those things, but as a low unit major and a fairly small number of GE requirements that are still required for you, there are 9 upper division level GE requirements that are required for you in addition to the political science unit requirements that you have. But that still gives you plenty of time to start investigating courses in other departments, to think about maybe getting a minor in a different department, in economics or sociology or English or history or something like that. Or even if you don't officially minor in another department, to take classes that just interest you, to diversify your portfolio, and the set of courses that you take in a given semester will allow you to be more successful, to see connections between and among those courses. The other thing I would just note is that it isn't required, but for many who take 4 or 5 political science classes in one given semester find that their exams and their assignments tend to be due around the same time. And if you take other sorts of courses, like an economics course or an English course, they tend to have a different flow to their semesters, and therefore you can spread out the assignments that you have to be more successful. So when you sign up for classes, we're going to ask you to take no more than 3 political science courses in the fall semester. This isn't, we don't love political science, of course we do, but we want you to think about other departments when thinking through about the sort of courses you would want to take and how to think about doing that. And so that's just an overview, and again, we'll go over that more specifically. What I want to do now is to talk specifically about the political science major, what is required for the 39 units to fulfill those major requirements. And so I'm going to share the screen with you to do that. On this first one, what I want to do is to show you the political science web's homepage. So, sorry. There it is, the political science homepage. There is a welcoming message from the chair of our department, Dr. Teresa Wright, who also teaches a class for us, the Poli-Sci 362 course, the Politics of China class, but is also the chair of our department, and there's a welcoming video for you. As you can see, our website has lots of information on it, and so I won't be able to go over all of it, but I do ask you to think about taking a look at your home a little bit, to take a look at the political science webpage to see what's on there. And what I'm going to take a look at specifically is under department information. You can see this, click on advising, click on advising. And then when we talk about advising, we have information about undergraduate advising. And we have a number of online resources, some of which I will link to in the emails that I'm sending you this summer. And some of them are just here on the website that you can take a look at. What I'm going to look at specifically is the Political Science BA Requirements Worksheet. And so we click on this. We have that in order to make sense of the political science degree, you need to understand some terminology that we're going to use. And one of the terms that we use is the idea of a concentration. Political science is the entire department, it's the entire field that we study, but within that, in our department, we divide it up into 3 categories, what we call concentrations. There's law, policy, and policy, global politics, and political theory. Political theory are those courses that deal with the big issues, that deal with ideas along the lines of democracy, liberty, economic class, revolution, race, ethnicity, sexuality, and gender. And so those are the sort of classes you would take if you concentrated in political theory. Global politics is studying the world. It includes comparative politics, where you can compare and contrast the political systems of different parts of the world or different countries. And then there's international relations, which looks at the entire international political system as its own system that needs to be studied and should be studied. And finally, law, politics, and policy is understanding American law, American politics, and American policy, with an emphasis on government institutions, political participation, and the policymaking process. And so at some point, you will need to determine your concentration, the area of political science that you want to concentrate in. And as you will see, in choosing that, you will take more classes in your concentration, but there will be plenty of room in the major for you to take classes outside of it, because some of you want to study all of it. And that is certainly something that you could do, but we ask you to choose a concentration. Many of you have already chosen what your concentration is. Others of you have not, and that's absolutely okay. You do not have to declare your concentration immediately. Some of you may want to wait until you've taken classes here, and so maybe in the middle of the fall semester you can decide. And we've set up the sample schedule for you to think about for the fall semester, to think about ways of making that possible. Okay, so, but when we talk about the major, at some point we make a distinction between the concentration courses and the breadth courses. And so understanding what the concentration courses are is worthwhile. I'm going to use an example. I'm going to click on one of them. For each one of the concentrations, there is, if you click on it, go to here, is a worksheet that allows you to take a look at what the requirements are. So there's one for law, policy, and policy, there's another one for global politics, and there's a final one for political theory. And they're very similar in their structure in that they have this first category, the required courses, that it's required for all political science majors. The second area are your concentration courses, and so they list, if you're law, policy, and policy, these are all the courses within the concentration and specifically which types of courses you need to take. This third category are your breadth courses, and then finally there's this fourth category called a practicum, and we'll get to that at the end here when we talk about this sheet. But this sheet is available to you. You can print it out, you can keep them for your records, you can use this in addition to your academic requirements report, which is another way of keeping track of your progress towards your degree. But we're going to use as an example the law, policy, and policy sheet, even though the global politics and political theory ones exist, they're very similar to this. So for all political science majors, there are two classes that are required. Poli-Sci 100, which is what we call it here, the Introduction to American Government, with the California Politics component included in that. Many of you have taken that course. If you've taken it at community college, that course will count towards the Poli-Sci 100 requirement we have in our department. Poli-Sci 300 is another required course for everyone, regardless of your concentration. And for that reason, we want you to think about it, the very first instance, if you can, to take Poli-Sci 300 in your first semester. So in the fall 2020 semester, we hope that you'll consider taking Poli-Sci 300. Now, some of you might find, even though we have multiple sections of Poli-Sci 300, that none of the sections fit your schedule. If that is the case, then definitely take Poli-Sci 300 in the spring semester, and then we'll have a sample suggested schedule for those who can't get into Poli-Sci 300. But we have many seats available in Poli-Sci 300 because we want as many of you as possible to take that course. In fact, one of those sections is being taught by me, and so if you're interested in taking that one, you can sign up for it. But we have many great people teaching Poli-Sci 300 in our department, and it's a core class, and so we have really innovative and interesting professors who take that course on. And so we encourage you to choose one that fits your schedule, fits your work-life balance, but build your semester for the fall semester on Poli-Sci 300 because it will allow you to fulfill a core requirement. But at the same time, if Poli-Sci 300 is not open, do not panic. You can then take it in the spring semester. Okay, so in addition to your required courses, there are also your concentration courses. And the concentration is made up of 18 units, 6 classes. First, there is a lower division level course that is required for everyone in your concentration. Here in the Department of Political Science here at Cal State Long Beach, we call that Poli-Sci 212, How Democratic is the United States. You may have taken an Issues in American Government class, or an American Civil Rights course, or something in American media, or something like that, that may fulfill this requirement. And for that reason, we're asking you not to take any lower division level courses in the fall semester in the case that you've taken this class and have already fulfilled that requirement. We don't want you to waste a class by taking it again, even though we love teaching Poli-Sci 212. I've taught it before, it's a great class, but just don't do that for this semester. If you do need to take the lower division level course in your concentration in a future semester, we offer them every semester, so you can always do that. In global politics, the lower division level course that is required in that concentration is called POSC 218, or global politics. For those of you who've taken a class in international relations or comparative government or comparative politics at a community college, that would fulfill the lower division level global politics course. And if you are a political theory concentration, then we have it is POSC 225, which is the political theory course. If you've taken a political philosophy or a political theory course at community college, it would fulfill that if your concentration were in political theory. In addition to this lower division level course in your concentration, we also ask you to take a minimum, and we'll talk about in a minute why it's a minimum, but to fulfill the concentration, you must take at least 4 upper division level courses in your concentration. And it does not matter whether they're 300 level or 400 level. Within law, policy, and policy, you do not need to take some law classes, some policy classes, some politics classes. Take whichever ones are the most interesting to you. There is no requirement within this of which ones you take. You don't have to take 2 from this category and 2 from over here. This is just listing all of the ones that are available. So choose the classes that sound the most interesting to you, that fit your schedule and fit your interests. To finish the concentration requirements, you will also take in your final semester that you're here. And so it does not matter for the fall semester, but just so you know, you'll be taking this Poli-Sci 439 course, the senior seminar in law, policy, and policy. We only have enough room to have students who are graduating that semester to take their senior seminar that semester. And so you won't be graduating at the end of the fall semester, therefore you won't be taking the senior seminar. But look forward to it. It's a great class. It's a small class, 15 to 18 students, where you and the faculty member just deal with some of the big issues in using all of the techniques and theories and understandings you've gained by all the different political science courses, but specifically your law, policy, and policy courses, to understand the big questions in the senior seminar. So it's a really great class, but it's something that you don't need to know. Just as an overview, I wanted to provide that information about it. Okay, so that, the combination of your 6 units of required courses, POSC 100 and POSC 300, and then the 18 units in your concentration, that gets you to 24 units, and the remainder of the 15 units that you need to complete the political science degree is called your breadth. And the breadth requirement is one that sounds a little more confusing, but mostly because we give you choice. And what I want to do is to try to make it as clear as possible. And so what we have in your breadth, taking a look at your breadth courses, is that you need to take at least 1 course in the other 2 concentrations you haven't selected. So if law, policy, and policy is your concentration, you must take at least 1 political theory course and at least 1 global politics course. You can certainly take more political theory and or more global politics. We're absolutely happy for you to do that. But you must take at least 1 political theory and at least 1 global politics course to fulfill the minimum requirements of your breadth. In addition to that, you will also need to take other classes. If you were to take, the best way to think about it is, if you're not interested in anything but law, policy, and policy, many of you will be, and will be easily able to fill your breadth by taking 2 political theory courses and 3 global politics courses. That's certainly fine. But there are some people who only like their concentration. And so what we do for those students, and for anyone really, is to allow you to take more of your concentration courses if you would like. That doesn't mean they double count. So this is like Yahtzee, the game Yahtzee. You can't count things at the top and the bottom. And instead, what we're saying is that if you wish, you can take more than the minimum number of concentration courses. And if you do that, up to 2 more of those can fit in your breadth. And then finally, in this final slot here, you could take another political theory course, another global politics course. You could also take an ethnic studies course. We have decided as a department, and working with these other departments, that there are some courses around the university dealing with ethnic studies that are so politically relevant and important to study. Sorry, just trying to cover all this while I'm talking at the same time. You don't need to watch me do this, but there's a whole list of them here. Asian American studies, American Indian studies, Chicano Latino Studies courses, that the content of those courses are so politically relevant and deal with so many political science terms and understandings that we count those as breadth for anyone, regardless of your concentration. So if you were to take one of those, that would count in your breadth course. And so we certainly suggest that you think about taking an ethnic studies course. You're not required to, but it is something to think about. And many people find that as a gateway to think about perhaps taking a minor in Asian American studies or Chicano Latino studies. And we have many poli-sci majors who also minor in one of those ethnic studies departments, and just something to think about. Okay, and so your breadth is made up of 5 courses. One must be from the other, one from political theory, one from global politics. Then you're allowed to take 2 more that could be more law, policy, and policy, should you want to do that, or they can be more global or more political theory. And then this final one, because you're limited to no more than 6 units of your concentration courses to go into your breadth, you would then have to do this as either another political theory, another global politics, or perhaps an ethnic studies course. There are also these general courses here that are listed, and these are ones that do not fit any general category within our department, and they count as breadth for anyone who does that. One that I want to really point out, they're all really great, but this Poli-Sci 388 course, the Cyberspace Citizenship course, is one that hasn't been offered in a while. Dr. Larry Martinez is teaching that course this semester. He is an expert on these issues, on the policies and politics of space, but also of technology writ large. It's a really great class, and so because it touches on things that are about political theory and global politics and law, policy, and policy, to understand that issue, it is just breadth for anyone. This Politics for Culture course is a very similar one, in that it touches on all the different concentrations, and therefore it counts as breadth for anyone who takes this, regardless of their concentration. And this Poli-Sci 494 course, Politics of the Future, is also an interesting one. And you're certainly welcome to do that, and that would just count as breadth, regardless of whether you're law, policy, and policy, political theory, or global politics. This final section is the practicum requirement, and I'll go through some detail about that. But it is to say that 3 of the units that you take in political science, either in your concentration or in your breadth, needs to be a practicum course. And so it is not an additional requirement, it's not an additional 3 units. It is just saying of the courses you take in your concentration or in your breadth, at least one of those courses, must be a concentration course. And so there are 3 different sections of practicum requirements. The first is a simulation or an activity course. That's Politics and Practice of the United Nations. That's being offered in the fall semester. And this Legal Practices Moot Court course, which is also offered in the fall semester, but that is only open to students who apply to get into that. And you'd have to reach out to Dr. Ringel to see if he has room for that. And those are courses that actually compete, go to conferences and compete for prizes, but for awards. But it's also to do a simulation of the United Nations and do a simulation of a moot court experience. The Policies and Practices of the United Nations does not require the instructor's permission in order to do it or to be interviewed by that instructor. So you can certainly just sign up for that course if that's interesting to you. The second category of practicum courses is the service learning courses, and we have 2 of those in our department. Poli-Sci 401, which is cross-listed with Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies 402, and that's Women in Political Theory, or Poli-Sci 450, Comparative Political Movements. And in those courses, the way in which they're a practicum is that the professors worked with the Center for Community Engagement to come up with ways for people to do service learning as part of the course. And those service learning experiences will most likely be done online because of the reality that our courses are online for the fall semester, but it allows you to apply what you're learning in those classes to how do organizations in the political world actually try to implement those. And so you're certainly welcome to do those if you feel like it, but Poli-Sci 401 at the moment is a full class because it fulfills so many requirements for a lot of people in our department that it tends to fill early. And so you'll probably find that you won't be able to take it in the fall semester, but certainly put that on a list of something to think about down the road. One of the ones that we really are thinking about for the fall semester to give you the flexibility that we're talking about to come up with a semester that allows you to be successful and to continue to make progress towards your degree are these internship courses. And internship courses, there are a number of them that are listed here. The primary ones are POSC 447 and 448. 447 is the internship class that we offer in the fall. POSC 448 is the internship classes we offer in the spring. Dr. Katherine Perkins is the internship director for our department. And so if you have any questions about that, please ask her about those things. There is also a bunch of information on the department webpage about internships and the frequently asked questions, and it allows you to get a sense of what the internship is. But what an internship is, as you might imagine, is that you do work with a political organization, with a campaign, with a law office, with county level government, city level government, with a non-government organization dealing with politics in some ways. And our department has a very broad view of what is considered to be political. So a lot of different organizations would fit this category. You do an internship with that organization for a minimum of 120 hours. You keep a journal as you do your internship, and then you write a 12 to 15 page paper. The course doesn't meet as a class. The work that you do is primarily on your internship, and a lot of those internships are going to be done through the internet and virtually rather than in person because of the reality that we found ourselves. But it gives you a lot of flexibility to have a different sort of course than the ones that meet regularly and things like that. So if that's something of interest to you, definitely take a look at the information we have on the website about internships, but also reach out to Dr. Katherine Perkins, who is the other undergraduate advisor for those with the last names L through Z. You'll be working with her because she, starting in the fall, will be the other undergraduate advisor for the department, but she is also the internship director for our department. And so you'll definitely want to reach out to her should you have any questions about that. I just want to double check to make sure that I've gone over all of the requirements for our major. I think that's right. And I think one thing that does come clear from this is that our department is one that has a lot of choice. There's a lot of choice that you get to make. For example, going back to your concentration, you get to choose any set of these 4 courses that seem interesting to you, that fit your interests, that fit your the time of day and things like that, to take a look at the professor who's teaching it, etc. There's a lot of choice within your breadth. It's part of the reason why it took so long to explain is because we want to give you the flexibility to take the sort of courses that you want, that fit your interests, that allow you to be successful. The practicum, we have 3 different types of them. You only need to do one of them. Some people end up taking more because they really like them, but we want to give that flexibility as well. And so what that means is that some of the work about this in terms of, is this a good semester, really has to be something you have to determine. The proof of the pudding is in the tasting. It is whether or not you're interested in the classes, whether they are ones that make you excited when you hear the topic and you look forward to doing the reading and the work for that course. And so it is just something to think about in terms of how our department is set up. It is allowing you to have that choice. And the other thing is, I would say that if you follow the basic rules, we're going to go over those in a few seconds or in a few minutes, we'll talk about how you want to set up a semester. But the one thing to think about is that you really can't go wrong in terms of coming up with a semester, because as long as you do upper division level coursework, you sign up for the fall semester, everything you take is going to count in terms of units towards the degree, in terms of making progress towards the poli-sci degree. And even if you don't make as much progress as someone else does in the fall semester, you will definitely be able to complete the degree requirements in the amount of time that's necessary. So in all of those ways, we're really emphasizing the choice that you have. And the other thing is that choice goes beyond simply political science. And we ask you to think about perhaps investigating the idea of getting a minor in a different subject. For example, you could do an ethnic studies course, an ethnic studies minor. You could do a sociology minor, an economics minor, an English minor. There are certificates. There's a legal studies certificate, which works really well with the political science major. And if you want to take a look at that, investigate the website, and you can even use the academic requirements report or the My CSULB tool to look at a what if report to see what if I had a poli-sci major but also a legal studies certificate. See that a number of the classes we have in political science will count towards a legal studies certificate, and so that's a possibility as well. So what we're going to ask you to do is to think not simply about political science, but also what other courses might augment your understanding of the political world and make you excited about just the liberal arts education that you're getting here at Cal State Long Beach. The other thing is that there are some GE requirements that you still need to complete. Even if you've done all the G at the lower division level, there are 9 units of GE requirements that you must meet in order to complete your degree here. Again, this is the idea of choice so that you can put your stamp on it and you can do the sort of courses that you want. The other thing is that remember that I've gone over what you need to complete by the time you graduate, not what you necessarily have to do this semester. What we want you to do is to know that you have room to investigate a minor, to do a certificate, to take classes in ethics studies courses, or just to take classes in other departments. You don't have to have a minor. It is not required. And many people find it useful just to take a set of classes that will help them as they go forward. If they're thinking of going to law school, some people might want to take a philosophy class or logic and reasoning class because it might help them on the LSAT exam. Some folks might decide that they want to take a more formal statistics class after taking our Poli-Sci 300 course because they feel that they want to do some graduate work in political science. Other people might want to learn Shakespeare because when they're going to work for a law office or they're at their job, they want to just be able to talk with others about some great things like Shakespeare. And so we really want you to think about that as you're coming together with the schedules that you're coming up with. And so I'm going to stop the share on this one. I'm going to show up for a second. There I am again. Let me just double check my notes to make sure I've gone through everything that I want to on this. Okay, so what I want to do now is just to offer some specific suggestions for what you want to complete for the fall semester, to think about the fall semester. And there are a couple of things to think about before we get to that official suggestion that I'm going to give you. And the first thing that I'm going to point out to you is that for the university, 15 units is what they're suggesting you should think about taking. That's the full time that would allow you to complete. If you did 15 units each semester, you would be able to complete in 4 more semesters as a transfer student. Now, for some people, that may be too many units. It just doesn't fit their life, their work, their all those sort of responsibilities that they have. And so if that is your situation, that is perfectly fine. But they're just saying that those who want to complete in 4 more semesters from now, it's 15 units a semester. And the other thing to recognize is that 12 units is the minimum number of units for full-time for financial aid purposes. And so you want to think about that very carefully in terms of what sort of financial aid requirements there are, in terms of what level of coursework you need to have. 12 units is the minimum that you need to be considered full-time for financial aid purposes. But there are some other considerations, and you definitely want to take a look at the implications of your choices for your financial aid and your eligibility for financial aid. But there are going to be some of you who will be taking 9 units or 6 units because that just fits better for you where you're at now. Just recognize the way that California State University does its cost structure is that up to 6 units is part-time, 7 up to 18 or beyond is full-time in terms of the amount that they charge you. And so you want to take a look at that as well in terms of the implications of those things. The other thing to think about is that in addition to saying, 15 units, the other thing you want to think about is the idea that all of our courses are going to be at Cal State are going to be done virtually, but at the same time, you need to recognize that many of the courses are going to actually have you do some activities, perhaps through Zoom or some way of actually doing work at the time that that class is actually scheduled. So you just want to make sure that you sign up for courses that actually fit the schedule, that you can make it regularly and things like that. One other thing, let me double check, there's something in my head. Just as another reminder for you is that please don't take any lower division level courses for the fall semester because we want to make sure that you're not taking a class that eventually will have given you credit because you're taking it at community college already. The other thing is that you will, and we'll be talking about this in a moment, is that you will be required to take a writing intensive course sometime before you graduate. We're asking you not to do that in the fall semester. And so that will limit the suggestions that we have, but there are plenty of choices within those suggestions that we're going to give you. So let me just show for you the sample schedule that we're thinking of. We actually have two of them. They're very similar. What we're going to do is we are suggesting for those who are going to take 15 units in the fall semester, we suggest that you build around, in the suggested course schedule A, Poli-Sci 300. Build your semester on Poli-Sci 300. It's required for everyone, so we're asking for you to think about taking that. Then you would take one upper division level concentration course. So if it's law, policy, and policy, you take a law, policy, and policy course. Upper division is 300 or 400 level. If your concentration is global politics, you take an upper division global politics course. Or if your concentration is political theory, then you take an upper division political theory course. Then you take one upper division breadth course. So if you're law, policy, and policy, you take a global politics or a political theory class. If you're global politics concentration, then you also take a political theory or a law, policy, and policy course. Or if you're political theory concentration, then you would take a global politics and a law, policy, and policy course. Now, some of you may not have actually decided what your concentration is, or you might want to switch your concentration. Both of those are absolutely fine. And so in that case, you may not know which is your concentration, which is your breadth, but just make sure that the two courses you take besides Poli-Sci 300 are in different concentrations. Take one in law, policy, and policy and one political theory. Do the two perhaps that you're trying to decide between and take those courses. In addition to that, we ask you to do an upper division GE capstone category F, and I'm going to show you on the website how to find those. You are required to take 6 units of upper division capstone courses. It's called category F here. You're also required to take 3 units of writing intensive, but we're asking you not to consider that for the fall semester. But one of the courses you should take is this upper division GE capstone course. And we do have some in our department, and if they're really interesting to you, you could certainly take those, but you might want to use this as a way to investigate a possible minor. If you are thinking about a minor in economics or a minor in English or something like that, take a look at the upper division GE capstone courses that have available and take that. You don't have to do the minor just because you did that, but it might help you investigate it, and that course will count towards your minor if you do really enjoy it. And then for this last course, we ask you to think of an upper division minor course, one of those ethnic studies courses. It's in a different department, but it's still helping you make progress towards your political science degree, or just take a course that's of interest to you. You know, if you're interested in Shakespeare, take the Shakespeare class. If you're interested in geography and wonder what that's about, take something like that as a way to diversify your portfolio, to embrace the liberal arts college experience that you have. The other suggested schedule is not that different. It is just saying that Poli-Sci 300 doesn't fit. When you are enrolling for courses, the sections that are Poli-Sci 300 that are available don't seem to fit your schedule. Then take 2 in your concentration, 1 in your breadth. Then you have this upper division capstone course, and then you have an upper division minor, ethnic studies, or another course of interest that you take. And again, at the upper division level is what we strongly suggest. Just to make sure that you're not taking a class you've already gotten credit for at a community college. So what I want to do now is the very last thing before I say thank you and to say goodbye to you is to give you some information about how to find these upper division GE capstone courses that I'm referring to. So that's one more thing I'm going to do. Let me share that with you. Under the schedule of classes, let me share that with you. Okay, so when we're here under the schedule of classes, we're at the California State University Long Beach website. You go to the schedule of classes, and I'm going to click on fall courses because that's what I'm going to take a look at. Under fall of 2020, click on that. And what I can do is search by subject, so political science, by college, culture, liberal arts. But what's also useful is I can search by GE requirement. I click on GE requirement. And there you have your area A, B, C, D, E, and F. This category F are your capstone courses. Within that, not very helpfully, are 5 different sections. Those are bureaucratic sections that don't matter to you. You need to take 2 upper division capstone courses that are somewhere in here. Most of the ones are going to be in this interdisciplinary category, and so it's easiest to click on that. Although some of them may be service learning. For example, Poli-Sci 450 and 401 in our department are GE upper division capstone courses. They count for your department requirements and your GE requirements. And so if you take that class, you take care of those things at once, and that's absolutely encouraged and be great for you to do. Poli-Sci 388, the one I talked about, cyberspace citizenship, Poli-Sci 494, they are also capstone courses. But in that case, they're interdisciplinary ones. And so you can search all of these categories. Searching them won't hurt, but the way to speed up the process is to take a look at the interdisciplinary category. That's the biggest section of them. And if you click on that, it will give you the schedule of classes in all the departments across the university that have courses that fulfill this capstone requirement. And you want to take a look to see whether or not there are open seats. The green dot says there are open seats that are available. There's some class notes that are there. Sometimes there are prerequisites and things like that that you want to pay attention to and to recognize. In this case, the 306 is referring to its online alternative mode of instruction. And so some have already designated that. But it lists throughout the entire university all the different capstone courses. And so you're free to take any of those. If there is a prerequisite, it will be listed in the class notes. That's what this number 1 is. That's listed under class notes. That means there is a prerequisite. And the system will not allow you to enroll in a class if you don't have that prerequisite already completed. So it's a way to investigate these GE upper division capstone courses. But remember, we have them in our department as well. You don't have to shy away from those. They do fulfill them. The Poli-Sci GE capstone courses are great classes. They include Poli-Sci 388, the cyberspace citizenship, 395, politics through culture, Poli-Sci 494, politics of the future, 461, politics of development, Poli-Sci, some other, Poli-Sci 450, compared to political movements. We also have writing intensive courses, which down the road after the semester, when you're thinking of doing a writing intensive course, you might enroll in one of those. That's Poli-Sci 362, politics of China, or Poli-Sci 401, the women in political theory that I talked about. That is also a practicum course. And you can start to see why that class fills so quickly, because it is a theory class, it is a practicum class, and it fulfills a GE upper division capstone, particularly a writing intensive. So it has a lot of vitamins, and that class fills relatively quickly. So you'll have room to take it later on, but for the fall semester, that class is already full, so you wouldn't be able to take that one. But again, this is really to introduce you to the entire major and not just for this semester. But again, that's the overview that we have. Let me stop the share on this one. And so what I want to do is to just end with, again, that you really can't go wrong if you choose classes that seem interesting to you, that you stay at the upper division level, that if 15 units is doable for you and seems to work for you, that would allow you to make the quickest progress through the degree. But if 12 works better for you, that is absolutely fine. It's just something you have to decide to feel about what you feel most comfortable at. And for some of you, it might be 9 or 12, or 9 or 6 units. And that's perfectly fine as well. You just have to recognize that if you take fewer units, you'll need to take classes over the summer, or you'll just be here more semesters in order to complete your degree. So I hope that this has been helpful in terms of getting an overview of the political science major, some ideas a little bit about the GE requirements that you have, ideas that you should be investigating classes outside of political science, perhaps a minor in a different discipline, perhaps thinking about getting a certificate, but certainly thinking about taking classes in other departments, because we love poli-sci, but you want to diversify your understanding of the world around you. But any poli-sci class you take, you're certainly welcome to take more than the required 39 units. We're perfectly happy with people doing that. Every poli-sci course you take will make you smarter in terms of understanding the political world and how you analyze it, but also will contribute to your GPA in political science and count towards units towards your degree. So again, I apologize that we can't meet in person. I hope that this is helpful for you. And good luck, and hopefully we will have our paths cross virtually for a while, and then also have the paths cross in person once that is safe to do so.